this is just opinion. Today's question is, was the Olympic opening ceremony a shambles? If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Some people believe that the Olympic opening ceremony was a success. However, I feel that it was a performance plagued by mistakes, missed opportunities, and misinterpretations. And consequently, I believe that the Olympic opening ceremony was a total shambles. There are mandatory components to an Olympic opening ceremony, including a parade of the athletes, lighting the Olympic cauldron, hoisting the Olympic flag, and an artistic demonstration of the culture of the host nation. Those who wrongly believe that the Olympic opening ceremony was a performance to be celebrated would put this down to the fact that the event did include a number of these features. The curators of the event did indeed have the athletes sail down the river. 85 boats carried almost 70,000 sportsmen and women along the River Seine. They were also able to light the Olympic cauldron. French athletes Marie-Josée Pérec and Teddy Riner had this honour. Furthermore, they did raise the Olympic flag. However, an important element of flag hoisting is not just raising the flag itself, but also ensuring that said flag is flying the correct way around. And, on this point, the opening ceremony failed. The Olympic flag should be flown with the 3 hoops coloured blue, black and red at the top, and the 2 hoops, yellow and green, at the bottom. However, the hoisters upended this, attaching the flag to its pole with the yellow and green circles at the top and the others below. Still, at least they got it up. So, perhaps it could be argued that this element of an Olympic opening ceremony was fulfilled. But the same certainly cannot be said for the final criterion that the opening ceremony must contain: an artistic demonstration of the culture of the host nation. This was evident in the lack of French representation in the musical numbers, which included a performance by the American Lady Gaga and the Canadian Celine Dion, as well as a rendition of the British John Lennon's Imagine. These foreign nationals do not seem the obvious choice as bastions of French culture. Was Indochine, the French rock band who have been going strong for over 40 years, unavailable? What about Jules, the highest record-selling French rapper? Or even Pierre Garnier, the most recent winner of the French singing competition Star Academy? Surely any of these, or the myriad of other French performers, would have been a more appropriate demonstration of the nation's culture. Instead, the use of singers and songs from other countries was a missed opportunity to showcase the best of what France has to offer. The result was that the criteria for an opening ceremony was not met, and the whole performance was a shambles. Some would jump to argue that the opening ceremony was also a disaster because the drag and transgender fashion show on the bridge mocked the Leonardo da Vinci painting The Last Supper. This painting depicts the final meal that Christ is said to have had with his disciples. However, others claim that the bridge performance more closely represents a different painting, one Feast of the Gods by Jan van Bijler, where we see Greek gods meeting at Olympus. Further people make no connection with artwork at all, instead seeing the piece as a statement on transgender rights. Yet, whether the bridge performance was reminiscent of a particular picture or was making a political point is neither here nor there. What does contribute to the opening ceremony being a shambles is that this performance was at all open to interpretation. Those involved with producing the show should have, at every stage, been asking themselves the question, will the audience see this performance in the way we intend them to see it? It would seem that they did not have the foresight to do this, and it is the resulting lack of insight which led to a shambolic opening ceremony. So, Just what did the producers intend, not just the bridge performance, but other elements too, to represent? The creative director, Thomas Jolly, has said that the characters in the bridge scene were Olympic gods, and in particular that the blue figure was Dionysus. Those who are of the mistaken belief that the opening ceremony was a magnificent spectacle feel that Dionysus was accurately represented. On the bridge, he was almost naked, as he is often depicted in early images and classical art. Additionally, he was surrounded by flowers, symbolising his status as the god of vegetation. However, what these supporters have failed to take stock of is that the most noticeable aspect of Dionysus's appearance on this particular occasion was that he was overwhelmingly bright blue. Unfortunately for Jolly, this clearly inaccurate representation led many to believe that the character was not an Olympic god, but in fact a member of the cast of the popular cartoon series The Smurfs. That what was intended to be an Olympic god could in any way be interpreted as a Smurf would seem to put to bed any possible suggestion that this was a first-rate depiction. Dionysus was unrecognisable, everybody laughed, and the opening ceremony was a shambles. And Dionysus was not the only figure open to misunderstanding. Following the performance on the bridge, the audience was greeted by a woman riding a mechanical horse along the River Seine. Jolly has said that the woman represented Sequana, the goddess of the River Seine. Those who erroneously think that the opening ceremony was a marvellous display would argue that the mere fact that the woman was on the river itself made it clear to everyone that she represented Sequana. However, it is easy to dismiss this detail as inconsequential, given that the majority of the opening ceremony took place on the water. Furthermore, the inclusion of a horse seems to further distance this portrayal from the real Sequana. Unsurprisingly, this river goddess has been depicted in both sculpture and paintings as riding on a duck boat, so called because the prow of the boat takes the form of a duck. She has not been depicted riding a horse. Consequently, it is not beyond all imagination that a more recognisable Sequana might have been one simply in a boat. In fact, even a figure galloping down the river on a gigantic duck would have been a more accurate representation. Yet, due to the lack of boats or oversized poultry, Sequana was unrecognisable. The audience was left wondering just who this woman was, and this bewilderment meant that the opening ceremony was a shambles. In conclusion, I strongly believe that the Olympic opening ceremony was a total shambles. Mistakes were made when hoisting the Olympic flag, opportunities to demonstrate French culture were missed, and a multitude of elements were open to misinterpretation. I hope you found the views expressed in this video engaging. Please add your own opinions and any other comments below. Thanks for watching.